Personality, NLP and Astrology case study for Yolanda. Ascendant Uttara Ashada Sagittarius. Yolanda's ascendant lies in Uttara Ashada within the sign of Sagittarius, a placement that shapes her core lens on life through dignity, principle, and purposeful leadership. Uttara Ashada, ruled by the sun, is the nakshatra of victory through truth, integrity, and disciplined action. In Sagittarius, this becomes the spirit of righteous expansion, where idealism is not a fantasy, but a mandate for impact. Yolanda's personality likely radiates a calm, grounded confidence, not flashy, but resolute, purposeful, and principled. She isn't interested in small talk or surface ambition. She's attuned to legacy, vision, and meaning, always seeking to move forward from a place of truth. From an NLP perspective, Yolanda exhibits strong auditory-digital and general chunking tendencies. She likely thinks in terms of systems, patterns, and ethics, preferring to understand how things connect before taking action. Her processing is broad but structured, needing the whole picture before zooming in. She may not be interested in micromanagement or petty detail. Her mind seeks alignment with truth and long-term consequences, and her intuition is structured by moral logic rather than emotional noise. Her attention filter is primarily self-directed. Yolanda makes decisions based on inner alignment, personal ethical standards, and gut-based discernment. While she is capable of deep generosity and mentorship, Sagittarius traits, her actions and decisions begin within. She doesn't seek approval, she seeks coherence. When something resonates, she moves with unwavering clarity. When it doesn't, she detaches without drama. She has likely learned to trust this inner compass, even if it sets her apart. Her motivation direction is a strong towards orientation. She is pulled by truth, potential, and higher vision, rather than being pushed by fear or avoidance. However, Uttara Ashada also brings a refined moral filter. She won't chase goals for their own sake. Her towards is always in the direction of what is earned, deserved, and ethically aligned. This makes her less susceptible to distraction and more focused on building a life of depth, substance, and social or spiritual value. Yolanda's action style is measured, yet proactive when integrity and timing meet. She may not be the first to act, but she is often the one who acts cleanly and decisively when others hesitate. She doesn't seek to dominate, but will lead when leadership is lacking. And her authority often stems not from volume, but from clarity and lived principle. She shows up when it counts, and others likely trust her because she is consistent with her word, values, and presence. Her primary interest sort is likely centered around principles, people, and meaning. She is not driven by novelty or materialism. She is drawn to ideas, systems, and relationships that carry philosophical weight, spiritual intelligence, or transformative potential. She may be quietly charismatic, attracting others through her calm, steady conviction, and has the capacity to inspire, mentor, or organize people toward shared values, not through pressure, but through presence. Altogether, Yolanda's Uttara Ashada ascendant in Sagittarius defines her as a steady builder of truth, a person of vision-guided will, and someone whose NLP drives reflect internal motivation, principle-based cognition, and structured action toward lasting value. She is here not just to live, but to embody wisdom, share integrity, and leave behind something worthy. Fourth house, Venus, Mercury, Moon in Uttara Bhadrapada, and Mars in Revati, Pisces. Yolanda's fourth house, the realm of emotional grounding, inner rhythm, memory, operational style, and deep-rooted motivations, holds a powerful convergence of planets in Pisces, with Venus, Mercury, and the Moon in Uttara Bhadrapada, and Mars in Revati. This combination creates an inner world that is emotionally vast, symbolically coded, psychically sensitive, and mystically intelligent. Pisces governs dissolution and spiritual unity. Uttara Bhadrapada and Revati both carry endings, healing, and karmic resolution energy. Together, these placements make Yolanda's internal landscape oceanic, contemplative, deeply ethical, and spiritually disciplined. The Moon, Venus, and Mercury in Uttara Bhadrapada create a deep layered processing style. Uttara Bhadrapada, ruled by Saturn, brings a still, restrained, and dharmic emotional tone. Emotions are not reactive, but slow, steady, and anchored in symbolic rhythm. With the Moon here, Yolanda's inner emotional rhythm is structured but deeply intuitive. She may appear calm, even when navigating complex emotional terrain. Venus here refines her aesthetic and relational core, adding grace, compassion, and quiet protectiveness to how she loves and expresses. Mercury in this nakshatra brings spiritual speech, thoughtful silence, and karmically attuned language. She may speak only when it's energetically appropriate, and her words often carry emotional precision and mythic resonance. Mars in Revati, the final nakshatra, brings a different flavor, soul-led action through symbolic timing. Mars in Revati acts not through force, but through graceful alignment with closure, healing, and spiritual knowing. Yolanda's energy doesn't respond to urgency. She acts when the symbolic or emotional field aligns. This gives her a rare form of gentle decisiveness, especially in her private world. In her internal or domestic environment, she may instinctively protect peace, often stepping in with clean, confident, and restorative energy when emotional turbulence needs closure. From an NLP perspective, this house is driven by a blend of kinesthetic, visual symbolic, and auditory tonal processing. Yolanda likely senses emotional rightness before words arrive. She may not be consciously reading situations. Her body and symbolic system do it for her. Her emotional processing is slow and layered, requiring solitude, symbolism, or beauty to help emotions integrate. She may remember not through detail, but through feeling states, spiritual impressions, and mythic echoes. Her motivation direction in the fourth house is primarily away from emotional noise, chaos, or forced interaction, and towards symbolic peace, emotional depth, and subtle coherence. Her inner world is sacred space. It must feel energetically aligned. When it's not, she either withdraws, ritualizes, or quietly repairs. She likely cannot tolerate performative or energetically loud environments for long. She needs room to process slowly, love deeply, and restore quietly. Her frame of reference is deeply internal and karmically mapped. Yolanda does not look to others to define her emotional experience. Her system filters life through spiritual memory, emotional signature, and energetic tone. Others may not always understand what she's responding to, but she knows when something is off. She may be slow to speak or act in emotional spaces, but when she does, her responses often carry symbolic finality or restorative force. Her action style in this domain is reactive with soul-timed initiation. She doesn't push, she aligns. When clarity hits, she moves with grace, often correcting emotional imbalances without confrontation. Mars in Revati gives her a mystic's willpower, capable of acting on behalf of emotional closure with minimal effort and maximum impact. Altogether, Yolanda's fourth house placements form a spiritually integrated, emotionally intelligent, and symbolically structured inner world. Her NLP drives in this domain reflect a psyche designed for emotional integrity, aesthetic balance, and quiet karmic precision. She is not here to react. She is here to hold emotional space, transmit healing presence, and act only when the soul says now. Fifth house, Sun in Ashwini, Aries. Yolanda's fifth house, the realm of creative intelligence, memory, personal expression, and self-originating insight, contains the Sun in Ashwini, placed in Aries. This placement radiates a natural spark of initiative, originality, and instinctive brilliance. Ashwini, ruled by Ketu, is the first nakshatra of the zodiac, associated with speed, healing, beginnings, and energetic ignition. In Aries, a Mars-ruled sign, the Sun gains directional strength, further empowering Yolanda's self-expression, instinctive creativity, and autonomous decision-making. She's likely to approach problem-solving and expression with quick clarity, bold vision, and a pioneering edge. From an NLP perspective, the Sun in Ashwini reveals a strong visual kinesthetic and toward-oriented processing style in the fifth house. Yolanda likely processes ideas and creative impulses through immediate sensory response, often moving from concept to expression before others have fully formed their first thought. Ashwini gives her a sharp internal engine. She doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect before acting. Her learning and creativity are often accelerated, instinctively generated, and highly self-driven. She remembers through impression and movement, not repetition, and she likely creates best when given freedom and autonomy. Her motivation direction in this house is clearly towards clarity, originality, and pure insight. She is drawn to opportunities that allow her to start, initiate, or reframe, not just follow through. The fifth house rules performance and visibility, and with the sun here, Yolanda's light shines brightest when she's leading from the front or showing others a new way forward. She may be a natural motivator or activator, especially when allowed to bring truth, clarity, or a burst of purpose into an unclear environment. Her frame of reference is strongly internal. Ashwini acts from instinct. Yolanda doesn't need a group consensus to move. She trusts what she feels and sees, and often makes creative or strategic choices from an unspoken knowing. This can make her appear decisive, even abrupt. But underneath is a deep, intuitive compass honed by clarity of intent rather than calculation. Her action style in the fifth house is proactive, initiating, and rapid response. Yolanda doesn't wait for a perfect plan. She moves when energy aligns. Ashwini gives her the ability to cut through hesitation and act, which can serve her powerfully in leadership, teaching, or creative delivery. In learning contexts, she likely prefers independent exploration to passive instruction and may feel stifled in environments that limit her pace or autonomy. In relational expression, since the fifth also governs romance and playful connection, Yolanda is likely direct, bold, and energetically generous, but only when she feels free to be herself. She doesn't perform for approval. She offers presence as an act of clarity and joy. If constrained or micromanaged, she may withdraw or bypass the dynamic entirely. Altogether, Yolanda's sun in Ashwini in the fifth house gives her a creative and cognitive style that is initiating, fast-moving, clear-sighted, and energetically catalytic. Her NLP drives here reveal a person who leads with clarity and vision, expresses with honest fire, and processes learning or insight through swift, instinctive movement toward truth. She's not here to follow the path, she's here to start it. Jeep 8th house, Jupiter in Pushya, Cancer. Yolanda's 8th house, the domain of deep transformation, psychological integration, shared energy, and inner alchemy, contains Jupiter in Pushya, placed in Cancer, where Jupiter is exalted. This is a placement of karmic wisdom, protective presence, and emotionally attuned guidance through the hidden realms of life. The 8th house governs what's buried: vulnerability, loss, power dynamics, and regenerative truth. With exalted Jupiter here in Pushya, a Saturn-ruled nakshatra associated with nurturing structure, sacred protection, and disciplined spiritual nourishment, Yolanda possesses an inward-facing spiritual architecture that allows her to stabilize others during chaos while expanding her own emotional and philosophical depth. From an NLP perspective, this placement supports a kinesthetic and auditory tonal processing style in transformational domains. Yolanda likely tracks emotional and psychological undercurrents through body signals, inner voice resonance, and subtle energetic shifts. Jupiter in Pushya doesn't just understand, it holds space, offers coherence, and transmits safety. She may process other people's chaos as a mirror for her own growth and instinctively move toward clarity, comfort, and containment, rather than confrontation or emotional volatility. Her motivation direction in the 8th house is clearly towards integration, emotional safety, and sacred truth, and away from betrayal, secrecy without purpose, or emotionally unsafe intimacy. She's drawn to the kind of transformational work that uplifts rather than depletes, that roots wisdom into lived experience, rather than indulging in ungrounded exposure. Jupiter gives her the ability to metabolize pain into perspective, and Pushya ensures that she does so ethically, compassionately, and without emotional exploitation. Her frame of reference is deeply internal, especially when it comes to emotional sharing, healing, or power. She doesn't need outward validation to process her own transformation or to guide others through theirs. Instead, she relies on internal stability, emotional timing, and symbolic moral structure to determine how much to share, when to speak, and how to hold energetic space for others. In moments of crisis or depth, she likely becomes a quiet container, emotionally grounded, spiritually aware, and calm. Her action style in the 8th is reactive with spiritually timed generosity. She doesn't force transformation. She waits for the signal that the field is ready to evolve. When it comes, she may act as a teacher, emotional anchor, or silent healer, offering presence more than performance. Her ability to transmute emotional and karmic material comes not through dramatic release, but through stillness, timing, and moral grounding. In terms of shared resources, emotional intimacy, and psychological depth, Yolanda prefers structured vulnerability and relational safety. She may be cautious about who she lets close, not out of fear, but out of a refined understanding that not everyone honors sacred emotional space. Once trust is earned, she becomes a powerful ally, protective, wise, and unwaveringly supportive through others' growth, grief, or unraveling. Altogether, Jupiter and Pushya in the 8th house gives Yolanda a karmic and psychological blueprint of deep structured compassion, emotional sovereignty, and spiritually mature transformation. Her NLP drives here reflect someone who holds truth in silence, nurtures others in stillness, and anchors sacred change through quiet ethical clarity. She is not here to expose. She is here to heal what's hidden, protect what's sacred, and offer wisdom in the spaces where others unravel. 9th house, Rahu and Saturn in Purva Falguni, Leo. Yolanda's 9th house, the sphere of personal philosophy, higher learning, long-term vision, and spiritual authority, contains a conjunction of Rahu and Saturn in Purva Falguni, placed in Leo. This alignment combines Rahu's karmic hunger and boundary-pushing drive with Saturn's structural gravity and commitment to long-range truth in a nakshatra ruled by Venus and associated with restoration, dignity, and creative refinement. The 9th house governs belief, direction, and the internal compass by which we live. And with this potent conjunction, Yolanda's higher mind is shaped by tension between discipline and desire, legacy and renewal, tradition and personal truth. Purva Falguni, in Leo, brings in themes of creative sovereignty, personal pride, and aesthetic leadership. But Saturn here restrains the performative or indulgent aspects, demanding earned self-expression, ethical refinement, and maturity in matters of belief and influence. Rahu, meanwhile, intensifies the pull toward recognition, symbolic authority, or impactful leadership, especially in philosophical or creative domains. Together, this pairing gives Yolanda a complicated but deeply refining path around belief systems, leadership ethics, and spiritual identity. From an NLP perspective, this configuration reveals a general to specific and auditory-digital processing pattern in philosophical, ethical, and visionary matters. Yolanda is likely drawn to grand symbolic frameworks, but filters them through rigorous internal testing, value-based logic, and long-term impact checks. Rahu may drive her toward expansive ideas and charismatic roles, but Saturn forces deliberation, delay, and structural proof. She learns through a push-pull dance of ambition and restraint, often mastering systems that once felt too rigid or too tempting. Her motivation direction in the 9th is dual-layered, towards purpose, influence, and creative authority, but also away from misuse of power, hollow pride, or unethical leadership. She is wired to explore the edge of philosophical systems, test spiritual hierarchies, and carve her own path of meaning. But Saturn ensures she does so with accountability and internal checks. This makes her a disciplined visionary, someone who both expands and contains, someone who can teach from experience rather than ideology. Her frame of reference is strongly internal, but with karmic tension. Rahu pulls her toward unfamiliar belief systems or high-stakes roles. Saturn forces her to evaluate, slow down, and align. This creates a long arc of learning where Yolanda may wrestle with what authority means or how to stand in truth without becoming the very structure she once questioned. Ultimately, she is guided by a deep internal standard of coherence, elegance, and ethical weight, even if that takes years to articulate fully. Her action style in this house is reactive with structured ambition. She may hesitate to take bold public or philosophical positions until she's sure. But once she is, she moves with long-term precision, ethical force, and karmic readiness. Saturn here grants spiritual durability, while Rahu lends daring edge. Together, they build a person who becomes a teacher, mentor, or moral guide, but only through the lived tension of trial and transcendence. In terms of learning, teaching, and vision setting, Yolanda functions best when allowed to synthesize spiritual or philosophical ideas into legacy-level frameworks. Her mind is built for systemic insight, not surface belief. She may challenge outdated systems from within or build entirely new ones that hold beauty, power, and integrity at once. Altogether, Rahu and Saturn in Purva Falguni in the 9th house give Yolanda a belief and vision profile that is philosophically magnetic, karmically disciplined, and spiritually self-defining. Her NLP drives here reflect someone who seeks not just truth, but refined purpose. Someone whose spiritual authority is not granted by status, but earned through restraint, testing, and beautifully delivered insight. She is here not just to lead, but to redefine what leadership looks like when rooted in truth, timing, and grace. Overall NLP drives for Yolanda. Yolanda's NLP system is marked by a rare blend of spiritual precision, emotional discipline, symbolic timing, and structured intuition. Her chart reveals a personality that navigates the world not by speed or surface, but by inner rhythm, karmic resonance, and principled self-containment. Whether in learning, leadership, emotional processing, or philosophical engagement, her system is tuned to depth, alignment, and legacy-oriented refinement. She is not reactive. She is internally sourced, meaning all action and interpretation flow through a calm, integrated ethical filter rather than emotional charge or social pressure. Her primary processing modes are auditory-digital, kinesthetic, and visual symbolic. Mercury, Moon, and Venus in Uttara Ashada give her an elegant inner cadence. She processes through stillness, subtle tone, and long-form emotional insight. Sun in Ashwini and Mars in Ravati shape her creative and behavioral drives around intuitive motion and symbolic closure. When something is energetically clean, she moves. When it's not, she pauses until clarity crystallizes. Her decisions often appear simple on the outside, but are the result of deep internal sensing, energetic testing, and ethical filtering. Her motivation direction is predominantly away from chaos, distortion, and spiritual dissonance, and towards truth, grace, coherence, and symbolic rightness. She avoids emotionally volatile or morally noisy environments, not from fear, but because her nervous system and sense of mission require peace and clarity to operate well. Jupiter in Pushya reinforces this. She's here to grow and teach through containment, calmness, and the healing power of stable presence, not through intensity or speed. Her frame of reference is unshakably internal. Yolanda doesn't need validation to know what she knows. Her inner compass, especially with Saturn and Rahu in the 9th, has been forged through tension, restraint, and visionary patience. She may test systems, challenge norms, and step back often. But when she moves, her movement is grounded in timing, integrity, and karmic clarity. This gives her a unique psychological independence. She can lead, follow, or walk alone, but never out of sync with her inner knowing. Her chunking style leans general to specific, particularly in spiritual, emotional, or leadership contexts. She often sees the symbolic whole first, the field, the rhythm, the pattern, and then refines into ethical, emotional, or logistical specifics. This makes her particularly skilled in strategy, emotional teaching, or long-range vision setting, areas where many people drown in detail, but she navigates through essence and alignment. Her action style is reactive with rhythmic initiation, meaning she doesn't act until something feels karmically timed, but when she does, it's with quiet authority and refined impact. Mars in Ravati and Sun in Ashwini mean that action arises from symbolic clarity or intuitive momentum, never from obligation. She doesn't get stuck in cycles, she closes them. She doesn't rush into things, but when she's ready, her action is often decisive, graceful, and aligned. Her ideal environments for work and learning are quiet, symbolically rich, and rhythmically autonomous. She thrives when given psychological space, elegant systems, and meaningful purpose. She does not need constant stimulation. She needs integrity, rhythm, and aesthetic or spiritual coherence to unlock her full creative, philosophical, or emotional potential. Altogether, Yolanda's NLP architecture reflects a personality designed for spiritual stewardship, elegant truth transmission, and rhythmic self-mastery. She doesn't move with the world's pace. She moves with the soul's timing. Her presence refines spaces, her clarity stabilizes groups, and her vision reshapes systems, all delivered with calm conviction, symbolic precision, and deeply earned grace.